Hello.
Hi, Dr. Gray.
We are here to tell you about the four big ideas on radio,
Radio for Big Ideas.
which we will start with our pioneers of radio, which include,
Marconi.
yes, Marconi, who was basically the inventor of radio. He essentially made radio in order to get telegrams to send over greater distances, meaning like across the water, so someone in London could send a telegram to someone in America, and that's essentially how radio started. It wasn't meant to be for music or for news or anything like that. It was just for people to send standard messages to people. And then we have our good friend in.
Oh, De Forest,
Mm-hmm.
the father of radio, and grandfather of television. And then we have Howard Armstrong, who designed the first road circuit. That's what I have.
Regenerative radio circuit.
Right.
Yeah, that thing. He patented in 1914, and basically it gave the radio better signal clarity. Let's see, who else do we have?
Someone else.
Hmm.
Okay, so anyway, so we have some people who basically, started up this whole radio movement, but commercial radio was like bought up by big corporations who were looking to find another way of feeding media to people. So commercial radio really started to take off around the 20s. And there was the Radio Act of 1921, 27? I can't read what I wrote. Anyway, but the FRC was made, and that was just in response to just early networks that were beginning to start up in the U.S., and they were just going to control. It was kind of just this like way of controlling who was going to broadcast and who could do it, and like where it was going to happen and all that. It was before like I think it was like the predecessor to the FCC. So like this is just a starting like ground rules for how radio is going to work. So commercial radio, and then we have NBC.
Our first radio station ever.
Yeah, that was our first. And then we have AT&T, who was in New York. And then we have WJZ, and that's Jersey.
Yep.
So then after that...
What else is important? I guess AM and FM.
Yeah.
Amplitude modulation and frequency modulation.
Basically, one is crappier than the other. Nowadays, that's what we know them as.
Yeah.
But in the old times, I think they used AM more frequently than FM. But now FM kind of just gets a stronger signal, and more commercial radio stations are broadcasting FM. Though for some reason the Radio Disney is on AM. Like you can only find that on AM, which is weird because Disney owns everything, and they only are on AM. But I don't know.
It's weird.
that's my own 2 cents. And then there was this emergence of who could play music, and how music was so popular on the radio that people weren't really buying records anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why should I pay for it when I can just wait to listen to this on the radio? And then the whole payola scam was happening, and musicians and artists and companies were just losing trust in one another. And there was just a lot of mess with figuring out how radio could work in a way that would be profitable for not only the radio stations, but for the musicians that were being featured.
Of course, all that changed with
what?
With our little policy that came out in
Internet?
Uh-uh.
Oh, the Telecommunications Act!
That's the one.
Sorry. Right. Okay, so yeah, that one, that one basically allowed the blossoming of what the Big Five? Is it four?
Big Four.
Big Four companies, because it just limited how many different companies you could have on AM and FM stations.
Mm-hmm.
So that all these and instead of like thwarting them from being like, oh no, let's not, do this anymore, just all these like big corporations just swoop down. They were like, let's buy out all of this. Let's buy all these little companies.
Yep.
So, and then basically you had your music groups owning the majority of the music waves. But before even that, like I think something that I wanted was pop music.
Wow.
The radio definitely shaped what pop music was, because basically the music that you heard was generated by what people wanted you to hear. So there really wasn't that much choice in style. you had to listen to whatever the DJs or, you know, the big music labels and the companies wanted you to listen to. So they would, you know, have like movies accompanying like face actors, accompanying music, so that it was all being fed to you and you really didn't have that much of a say over what you listened to. It was just everyone was listening to the same thing. And it was the popular music of the time. But then, like, all that changed with these music groups, you know, splitting into these, you know, big four conglomeration. And then you had the emergence of just, like, grunge and alternative rock and
indie,
punk rock and girl power and psychedelic crap and just on and on. But yeah, so I think that was four radio ideas.
I think so.
We're a little apathetic about this section, and we're going to confess to you, we don't listen to the radio. We found this out. We were just talking, like, neither of us listen to the radio. When I'm home, maybe I'll listen to the radio, barely even then, because my mom likes to listen to her CDs. And I don't drive, so it's not like I have, you know, a little commute where I flip on the radio. That doesn't really happen.
Yeah, like, even in the car, we put on the iPod.
Yeah, plug in your iPod, stick in a CD, you know. So it's a little weird just talking about radio when it's something that doesn't really matter to me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Especially myself, like where I get my music is from Tumblr and Grooveshark. Those are the two places where I get the majority of the music and what I listen to. And most of the stuff is our bands that don't even play on the radio.
Yeah, like I get my stuff from very rarely Pandora, word of mouth, from people who like similar things for me. Usually if a music video is particularly interesting, I will start listening to the group.
That's another thing too, like YouTube's really made it easy to get access to music as well. I'm crazy about music videos. It's what we both kind of want to do, like in the business, like getting into film and directing, and I want to be able to shoot commercials, and I love, you know, one day I want to be able to do music videos as well. Like that is basically where it's at, and I don't think we're the only ones.
We're not.
You know, our friends don't really listen to the radio. You know, most, like some people, like I know, they shape their music taste, and that's all they listen to, and they just stream it to themselves constantly on their iPod.
Mm-hmm.
And like from my personal experience, like when I worked at Best Buy, I liked other MP3 players and not iPods because they had radios in them, and that was kind of cool to me. I liked that. But now iPods have radios in them too, and it's not really that valuable of a thing anymore, and people don't really listen to the radio much. At least the people that I know don't really listen to the radio anyway. So
yeah, I feel like the main reason is because people are getting sick of listening to the same 10 songs
all the time,
hour after hour.
Exactly.
Like, I just heard Katy Perry, and then 5 minutes later, I hear Katy Perry. It's not something that's pleasant.
Yeah, and especially for me, I'm not a Katy Perry fan. I'd much rather listen to Jonky or, like, Bon Iver or, you know, people that just don't get played on the radio because...
But they should.
Yeah, but they should. They're good bands. And, you know, they play in Providence for $15, so it's nice of them. Nice. Like, it's not like I'm against, like, you know, mainstream music. I love... friggin' like Panic at the Disco, Fall Out Boy, like Fall Out Boy isn't really a band.
It's fun to listen to like catchy things.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Matt and Kim, like everybody knows Matt and Kim now. So
I don't think so.
Most people don't. Well, then again, most people that I talk to don't listen.
Black people don't listen to Matt and Kim.
African Americans don't listen to Matt and Kim. But
which is another rant entirely. But anyway,
that's something else.
We should probably wrap it up.
Yeah, we're almost at our 10-minute mark, and we promise we keep it under for you. So, this is us, our 4 ideas, and our idea of radio. So, bye, Dr. Gray.
Adios.